how do you compare the computer power in a let's take that iPhone you have there? I mean, somebody or somewhere I read that the same amount of computer power in that iPhone that enabled man to land on the moon.
Yeah, I think they said the iPhone has more technology than the original Apollo space missions. You know, it's Moore's Law at work. What's fascinating right now about mobile devices is we're living in a world where there'll be 5 billion people with these smartphones, and they have them with them all the time. They sleep with them. So you're talking about 5 billion people using them 150 hours a week. And the software running on a smartphone is 10 times easier to use than software that ran on the web. And so you've got 3 orders of magnitude increase in the power, even in just the last decade, versus what we thought was powerful software during the internet revolution.
Now, who are your clients?
4,000 or 5,000 different corporations, governments, agencies.
And they come to you and say what?
You know, I have a credit card database of billions of credit card transactions. Find me all the stolen credit cards. I have a database of every telephone call. Tell me where the network's working properly. Tell me where there are outages. A database of every product sold in every store in the world. Tell me where I'm out of stock. Tell me where I have efficient inventory. Tell me where I have too much.
Now, didn't people like Walmart do pretty well at doing that idea of looking at inventory and hour by hour, day by day, being able to respond to changes in inventory?
Yeah, during the last 20 years, creating intelligent systems that allow you to optimize your business and your inventory has been essential to success in the retail industry, and Walmart has been one of the best for sure. I think just about every major retailer is a customer of ours in one shape or form, and so we've been a beneficiary of that. But I think that the exciting new thing is the dematerialization of half the economy. So it used to be 10 years ago, I was concerned about how I move items back and forth, but the items were things like DVDs, CDs, magazines. Well, DVDs, CDs, and magazines aren't product anymore. Now they're software, and so the real issue now is what kind of software do I need to provide you with music or a magazine?
And that's what you provide.
Right, and that's how we've grown our business. We're now very heavily into the mobile market, which is about how do I provide software that runs on an iPad or an Android tablet or a smartphone that helps someone either do a transaction or you automate a task like writing a prescription or homeroom attendance, and then how do I keep track of what the state of the world is? This
book is called The Mobile Wave, How Mobile Intelligence Will Change Everything. You know, tell me about the changes you see coming.
Well, in the fourth wave of computing, the internet wave, about 5% of the economy was automated.
Right.
In the fifth wave, we'll see 50% of the economy dematerialize. Things like a video camera, a tape recorder, a magazine, and they used to be products. Now they're icons on a screen.
Right.
And an education used to be a service provided by people. Education is now dematerializing to become something of Wikipedia or a Khan Academy or off of YouTube. And as those products and services dematerialize, there's a corresponding rise in software application networks, most of them emanating out of the United States in English, and denominated in dollars, oftentimes reflecting American or Western values. And those are permeating the entire world, because there's 6 billion people on the planet with mobile phones. There's only 300 million Americans. So
6 billion or 5 billion?
There's 6 billion people on the planet with mobile phones right now.
Jeez, how many people on the planet? Not
about 8.
7, you know.
There's probably about 7 billion literate people, 6 to 7 billion people that are literate. There's another billion that aren't. So I think at the end of the day, the real eye-opening conclusion is 80% or more of the planet already has a mobile phone that'll send an SMS message. But we're moving at a rate where within 5 years, 5 billion of those people will have smartphones that have the power of an iPhone or an Android phone. And when that happens, those phones will be 1,000 times as powerful as the mobile phones that are currently in the hands of the population.
And they'll do everything with it.
Like those phones that will dematerialize your wallet, your cash, your camera. They'll dematerialize television, music, etc. So imagine if I've got a device, say a tablet like this, and I'm a student in Pakistan or Turkey or Argentina. Now I get a free education in English from an American company. I also get all my textbooks for free. It means that I don't have to buy anything from a local provider. It means that the education I'm getting isn't subject to the local nation.
And it means you can educate yourself as fast as you want to.
I was 14 before I was able to study a foreign language. I had a choice of Spanish or French. 4 semesters. I had to sit in a class with 30 other people and go at their rate. And I came from, the richest nation on earth. Now, imagine if you're 4 years old, you have a choice of 100 languages, and you don't have to ask your parents' permission, the mayor's permission, the local religious leader's permission, or the president of the country's permission. Now you're untethering and unleashing the power of humanity to an extent we've never seen in the history of the world.
Some of the conclusions of your book, A, is the destruction of paper, which is obvious. 2, new kinds of cash, new kinds of transactions. What do you mean by that?
Well, if I can create a key and put it on my phone, and then I can use my phone to open a door.
Right.
But that's the most basic thing that happens. As soon as a key becomes a piece of software, I can flip the key to 20 people. Then I can create a key that only works if I'm not in the house. I could create a key that only works if I am in the house. So I can create these magical pieces of software that do things that people never conceived of. So a transaction might be a software credit card. I give it to you, I give it to your wife, and now whenever you want to spend more than $1,000, she has to concur. Right? So it's or the opposite. You could create a software credit card, give it to your child that only buys food and not alcohol on college campus. So that's a new and interesting type of transaction that you couldn't do in plastic.
And worldwide cheap medical care?
You know, if you have a CAT scan at midnight in the United States, it's a doctor in Australia that actually interprets that. A radiologist that's all the way around the planet, because we just move the X-ray and he zips it back and it's daylight for him. So I think that medicine is it's a service provided by people, but it gets expensive to the extent that the person lives in Manhattan in an apartment. But why should the radiologist that reads your X-ray in Manhattan, why couldn't he be in India in a place where cost of living is $5,000 a year instead of $500,000 a year?
Are you worried about invasions of privacy? Are you worried about hacking? Are you worried about being vulnerable to cyber attacks?
I think there are 2 aspects of this. One aspect, 80 to 90% of the impact of this is for the good, because people can use mobile phones to protect their privacy, to defeat hacking. For example, there's $250 billion of credit card fraud. And if I put a credit card on a phone, you can't steal it, I can't lose it. You can't use it without my knowledge. And if I call in to buy something online, they can verify my identity perfectly, much better than an existing credit card. You're safer to have a credit card on a phone than walk into a bank with a passport.
Yeah, but there's a whole lot of identity theft going on.
Well, and that's the flip side. So what concerns me? I think what concerns me is a guy can walk into your locker room with a camera on the phone, snap a photo of you while you're changing, and upload it to 20 million people. And I think that the time is ripe for the society to pass laws that give you a right to your own image,
right,
or a right to privacy. If I put this in front of you and I turn on the video and I film 87 million frames waiting for you to pick your nose, and then I isolate that out and upload that, and that becomes your image, I think I've violated your privacy, even if I did it in a public place.
Because there's no context.
I mean, I ought to be able to eat in a restaurant without someone shooting high-definition video of me against my will and then using it to disparage me or make me look silly or undermine my brand.
This is a winnable argument to make in public, especially with people who are in your own technology area?
You know, it's unclear how this will work out. I mean, different political systems take a different view of this. And if you look at the German view toward information rights, I mean, they're extremely stringent. Like, you know, if you're a patient, your doctor has to have your permission to access your record. I think every country and every political system has a different view, and they're going to evolve. And it is properly a matter for debate in the body politic.
Back to your company, MicroStrategy. What's your involvement with Facebook?
We have created software that organizes the data that is in the Facebook cloud into a data warehouse for business intelligence. So Facebook is optimized for you to share a photo with your friend. Yeah. What if I wanted to know how many people in the world think Madonna is cool right now who also happen to have college degrees and live in New York City? Well, I'd like to answer that question in 1 second. So to do that, you need a data warehouse and a business intelligence system. The reason you want to do that is because you'd like to figure out how to market, how to advertise, how to provide services. So we've created that product, and we launched and released a product called Wisdom, which in essence allows you or anybody else to type in any phrase. You could put in Coca-Cola and figure out where are the fans, what's the brand, how does it channel, and what are the correlations of those fans to every other brand in the world.
You know, much has been written about the fact, talking about Facebook and Apple and Amazon and Google, the big four, some call them. And they often say there's a giant race going on, and that they're going to be in each other's business, but they're all in hot pursuit of some sort of goal of being the best. How do you see that race? You know,
the media likes to characterize a race or a battle between Google and Amazon, or Google and Apple.
Or Google and Facebook.
And they ask who's going to win. Well, and it's totally mischaracterized, because the truth of the matter is they're all going to win, and everybody that's not in that race is a loser, right? So as Amazon releases a tablet computer, it doesn't matter whether they defeat Apple. What will happen is the tablet computer Amazon released is half the price of the Apple tablet. They're going to drive another 100 million units in the market, and we're going toward a world with 5 billion people with tablet computers. Today there's 100 million people. When there are 5 billion people with tablet computers, that means every local textbook company in every country is obliterated. It means all the local education establishments. It means every local newspaper, every local magazine, every company that's not Google or Apple or Amazon is going to see their business squeezed either to zero or squeezed by 90 or 95%. So the right way to think of it is half of the economy is going to become software. If you're not building the dominant software application network in that half of the economy, you're probably not going to be around. And by the way, it's not just the simple first order view is my newspaper is software, but a more insightful view is why, if the newspaper is software, there's no local advantage to controlling the unions, the politicians, the printing press, and the trucks in your local country. All those assets are meaningless, which means that the New York Times or some large English language company is probably going to enter the 190 country markets that they're not in right now. So you almost can't defend them. The most interesting geopolitical dynamic of the mobile wave is 5 billion people are about to become primary customers of Wikipedia, Google, eBay. Every American English language software companies are going to sweep throughout the world delivering their values, which are Western values, right? You see the autumn rage, the Arab Spring. We're going to deliver our products. We're delivering the dollar, the English language, and that's an incredibly powerful impact on this country.
You said whenever teenage girls and corporate CEOs covet the same new technology, something elaborate is happening. And it's true.
It's absolutely true. You know, 2 years ago, no one knew what an iPad was. I said to my niece, what do you think of the Big Apple? She was visiting me in New York City. She turns around, she goes, I like the operating system and I want one for my birthday. And I said, what are you talking about? She goes, I want an iPad. I said, why? She said, all my friends have them. I said, how many? She said, hundreds. And that was within 3 months of the launch. 2 years later, people were getting memos in the mail saying, when your kid shows up for junior high or high school next semester, have them bring an iPad with them. This is the first time in 2,000 years, right, that a principal directed that your child bring an electronic piece of equipment to class. It used to be a number 2 pencil, a pad, and maybe the last big change was a calculator.
Where is the fastest growing market today for smartphones? Do you know? This is not a trick question. I just wonder, does any nation, any country, any region stand out? It
depends on how you define growth. If it's percentage-wise, then presumably the fastest growing market is probably going to be China because they have the largest base and they have the fastest economy in general. If you look at where the value is, though, there are 1 billion people that speak English that have high discretionary income in the Western world between Europe and the United States. Any application on a smartphone has to win that billion people market. So if you win the Western market, every other market will be yours because it's marginally expensive to get to every other market. So I would keep myself focused upon software application companies that are successful in Western Europe and the United States.
Here is Larry Page on this show not long ago.
I think it's pretty clear that everyone in the world is going to have a mobile device that's connected to the internet.
Right.
And that's going to happen relatively quickly. And I think that's a very, very big deal, right? That's going to be most people's first computer, and it's the experience you get is pretty good. It's always on. It's always got your email on it. It's a really great experience in a lot of ways to use your mobile device. And I think that kind of, just works kind of mentality needs to be applied to the whole computer industry. Like your PC doesn't work that way. There's no reason that it shouldn't. And that's what you see partly with the birth, the explosion of tablets, is that they just work. They're always on. They can download things for you. They turn on instantly and so on. And they just have a much better experience. Now, they don't have everything you can do on your desktop. That's coming.
Yeah, that's your message here, too.
Yeah, that is my message. And my other message is that software operates in cyberspace, not Newtonian space. And so if you want to be successful as a software company in the new economy, you need to be schooled in fantasy more than science fiction. In science fiction, you think I throw a baseball in outer space, it goes 30 million miles, and you try to get the ballistic trajectory right. But in fantasy, I throw the baseball and it becomes a beach ball, then it converts into a pot of gold, and then it converts itself into a Ferrari, you drive it off, right? It's very different. If you take any product, the obvious thing to do is port it to the phone. The non-obvious thing is how does it morph when you can do anything? For example, this is a credential. This is an identification sitting on a phone. This is 1,000 times better than the ID you have in your wallet because you can't steal it, you can't counterfeit it, you can't defraud it. I can project it through a door, I can send it 1,000 miles away, and I can use it to wrap a check or a document to certify it, notarize it, and I can do that from the palm of my hand, which means there's 20 million organizations on the planet with an ID system. They're all obsolete, and all 20 million of them are going to go through a transformation over the next few years in a way that most people just can't predict with linear thinking.
The Mobile Wave, Michael Saylor, Chairman and CEO of MicroStrategy. Thank you, Michael. Good to have you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you for joining us. See you next time.